Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Newport Chambers Wake Up Newport. I'm Alberto Sandoval, Senior Director of Community and Government Relations at UC Irvine. Welcome this morning, this cold morning, cold for us anyway. We've got a great speaker this morning, talk about everything Newport. But before that, our fearless leader, Steve.
It's Steve. So good morning, I'm Steve Rosansky, President and CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to our first, we sort of missed January, so this is our first Wake Up Newport of the year. Great crowd here. It's a sea of DECA Blazers and other members. We do have some more seats up here if any of you guys want to sit up front. I know I sat in the back of the class too. I was the class clown, you know, so I was in the back of it. I always got in trouble. In any event, we have some special dignitaries here that I'd just like to quickly introduce. So with the Newport Beach City Council, Robin Grant back there. I'm also known as her brother now. She used to be my sister, but now I'm her brother. A couple of former mayors, Keith Curry is here. Rush Hill. Rush, welcome. Our Citizen of the Year, David Beek, is here this morning. Where's Dave? Back there. You might have ridden on his family's ferry. They go back and forth between Balboa Island and the peninsula, and he'll fill up your boat with fuel if you have one in the harbor. Howard Herzog with the Civil Service Board's here this morning. Howard. Don't forget to buy your table to, where's Howard? Raise your hand. Don't forget to buy your table to the police breakfast. I haven't seen it come through yet. They're going to sell out. We're going to be selling out, just like this room is sold out. Pierre Swan with the Irvine Ranch Water District. He's a director over there. I'm sure I'm missing some people here, so if you're important, raise your hand. Everybody raise your hand. Come on, you're all important. And of course, we have a visitor from a colder place than even here. Bob's from Minnesota. Oh, Idaho, okay, it's all the same. Northern Tier, whatever. Montana. It's almost Canada, right? You're almost a Canadian citizen. So, welcome, Bob. Thank you for coming. You get the traveled the farthest to the meeting award, okay? So we have, who are your point? Oh, Paul Watkins. Oh, yeah, the Library Foundation. Good morning, Paul. Or no, you're on not the foundation. You're on the Board of Trustees. Dorothy Larson here is on the Library Foundation. Are you the director now? No? Past director, okay. I think Paul's the chair of the Library Board of Trustees. They're going to build a beautiful lecture hall here where we're going to move our Wake Up Newport meetings over there in about 3 or 4 years. Is that about right? Okay. So we have a sponsor this morning. I'd like to bring up Julie Lawton. Come on up. Oh, come on up, Julie. Julie's helped, come on. Julie Lawton Custom Design. She's a rarity, a woman contractor, a building contractor. So she's going to tell us a little bit about her company.
Well, I'm from Iowa, which is the middle of the United States, corn-fed girl. Anyway, I've been in Newport and Laguna for 30 years as a female architect, interior designer, and contractor. So I took that whole business and put it into a one-stop shop, and I'm truly one of a kind because no one else seems to want to do that and make it easy for the client. So I actually provide the full service as one human with all my team, of course, which is huge. But that's what I do. So if you young people have questions about what it's like to be a female contractor in Newport, it's kind of interesting. It's dog eat dog, but and there's certain people I don't like anymore, but because they don't play fair. But I'm tough, so I will conquer and survive. So, but anyway, I feel like I'm at the FBI headquarters with all of you guys in your suits because I actually testified for the FBI last Monday and got to see Elon Musk in person last Monday. And you guys look like all the security guards that followed him around. It's serious. I'm like laughing because I was there. Anyway, but I'm an architect, interior designer, custom home builder. I'm really good. And I do a stress-free, beautiful process. So if your moms and dads, cousins, uncles, relatives are building a home, call me, 714-305-2861. And I'm here to support Newport always. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. We had another late arrival. I saw her in the back, Tara Finnegan, our assistant city manager. Where is she? There she is. Welcome, Tara. Thank you and Sheridan Hurst sitting next to her. She brought all these good-looking high school students this morning. She's the director of the DECA Club. Thank you. She told me there's like 150 more or less, so I think 90 of you signed up this morning, so we're expecting the other 60 next month. And then also, Matt Toby, where are you, Matt? Come on up, Matt. Matt's the owner of Champagne's Kitchen, not deli, I wanted to say deli. Champagne's Kitchen on MacArthur and Bison, right, in that center. And he brought the steel oat, maybe you'll tell him about it. I know it's steel oats, cold water process, oatmeal, so he's our food sponsor this morning. Matt.
Thanks for having me. Formerly Champagne's Bistro and Deli, which a lot of you have known for the last 32 years off MacArthur and Bison. My wife and I bought it a year and a half ago. It's our first venture into doing it ourselves, so still a family-owned business, just a new family. But we have a new menu coming out March 1st. We have the steel-cut overnight oats that we're serving today, which is a really healthy little snack you can grab and go from our deli case come March 1st. So, again, appreciate having us here, and if you need anything from me, I'm always at the restaurant.
It's a great place to go for lunch or you serve breakfast there too, right? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, have a meeting, you'll sit out on the patio. Okay, so I think we've covered all the preliminaries. I'm going to have Alberto come back up oh, wait, the chair of our board, chamber board has joined us. Chris Delfs is back there. Wave, Chris. He's about the youngest guy. You are the youngest one on our board, right? Yeah, so we appreciate youth, for sure. All right, I'm going to bring up an old guy, Alberto. He's going to introduce our speaker. Thank you.
You know, I still have that list of jokes, intro jokes that Rush gave me for you. I'm going to whip that out here pretty soon. Champagne's great place. Love it. You're keeping the French dip, right? Okay. Phew. Oh, two more. Excellent. Excellent. Hey, we've got a great speaker today. Not only is he a fellow board member on the Newport Beach Chamber Board, but he's a 33-year hospitality industry veteran. Gary Sherwin has served as president and CEO of the Newport Beach and Company since 2013 and its tourism business unit, Visit Newport, since 2006. Sherwin is responsible for overseeing the community marketing organization, promoting Newport Beach, California as a premier luxury destination. Sherwin has also served as chairman of the Washington, D.C.-based Destination International, the trade association for the global destination marketing organizations. Sherwin is past chairman of the Orange County Visitor Association and is also the past chairman of the California Travel Association, the state's leading umbrella tourism advocacy organization. He also sits on the board of directors for the U.S. Travel Association. He previously also worked for the Destination Marketing Organization in L.A. and Palm Springs. Gary is a certified destination management executive and, again, a board member on the Newport Beach Chamber Board. So welcome, Gary.
Hey, good morning, everyone. How you doing? One, I want to welcome all the students from the DECA program. Congratulations on the success of your program. Thank you for getting up really early to be here today. We'll try to make sure that you don't regret staying in bed at this hour. But, you know, it's great to have you here because I know you'll learn a lot about business, and the business of tourism is a really exciting career option for you. And it comes at a lot of different levels, and you are the future of our business. And hopefully whatever I say today will encourage you to pursue a career in our industry, because I truly think it is one of the most fascinating industries out there, in between getting to meet new people, interesting projects, and being involved in really making a difference for customers or guests who are coming to have magical experiences, as well as, in our case, trying to make a positive impact on the community. So we'll have a little time at the end today for questions and answers. But today I kind of wanted to take you through a little bit of a story. And we can't really talk about the story today without going back to 2020. And let me give you what happened starting in February of 2020, because certainly the pandemic, as it impacted everyone, the industry that was ground zero for the impact of the pandemic was the tourism industry, and it was pretty catastrophic. So let me take you back on February 26th, 2020. So we're in New York City because on that day, we had premiered a set of windows on Fifth Avenue at Saks Fifth Avenue, all Newport Beach related windows. These were mannequins dressed up in beachwear. We had murals at the Fun Zone, the harbor. This was a big deal to have a whole street of windows focused on your destination. And it was a matter of great pride. I mean, to walk down, you're seeing all these people, they're looking at this wonderful warm weather destination while they're all bundled up because it was a cold February day. We had a reception inside the store. After that, we were invited to go to the Stephen Colbert show, and we were sitting in the audience. We're in the front row, and Stephen starts making jokes about this thing called coronavirus, which you kind of had heard about, and it was still kind of funny back then that this weird little virus was, starting to make its way. And I'm going, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. It was an interesting show. I get outside the Ed Sullivan Theater, turn my phone back on because they obviously make you turn it off, and my phone started exploding with calls from all of our GMs all over town who were saying that all these meetings and conventions that amounted to tens of millions of dollars coming into Newport Beach had suddenly evaporated instantaneously. Because so many people were saying, oh, this coronavirus thing is really bad, they said, we're not going to do our meeting. Some of the meetings were even scheduled the next day for hundreds of people. And they said, we gotta cancel this. And it happened at every single hotel. It was a universal meltdown that occurred nearly overnight. And so I left the theater, started talking to the hotels, trying to find out what was going on. Because usually in situations where you have catastrophic situations, you see that these groups, they'll say, well, something's happening right now, we'll book later. That's not what happened. All of these groups said, we're canceling, and we don't know if we're ever going to rebook again. And you can imagine for our hotels, it was a punch to the gut. It was also a personal thing because my daughter was supposed to be getting married at the Balboa Bay Resort first week of April. And there is nothing worse than going home and telling your daughter, sweetheart, your wedding is canceled. And all the people who are going to be coming in the next month need to probably cancel their air, which was done for them because of the situation. We subsequently had to reschedule that wedding 4 times before she finally did get married in the summer of 21. So it was a pretty crazy time. So, but I'm going to show you some charts and numbers and all that. Don't let it overwhelm you, especially at this hour. It's really just to kind of help tell this story of what happened to Newport Beach and the tourism industry over the last few years. And to give you a sense of this, and we have a slide on this, tourism is absolutely essential to this city's economy. In terms of room tax collection, transient occupancy tax, it's the 3rd largest revenue tax. The one before it is retail, but retail is also tied to tourism because people shop at Fashion Island, Corona Del Mar, and Lido Marina Village and such. So tourism is vitally important in terms of generating tax revenue, spend. It's a $1 billion a year industry here in Newport Beach. A lot of people are surprised to hear that number. $1 billion, 16,000 jobs are dependent on it. So many of our businesses need tourism in order to survive. And what we saw was, it's like going to a room and someone flicked the light switch and it was over. And it happened instantaneously. So let me kind of walk you through where we were. So coming into 2020, man, we were feeling so good. It was going to be a record year, right? We had great rates. Now, you'll see these little bars over here. And what these numbers mean is ADR in hotel lingo is average daily rate. That's the average rate that a hotel would charge a guest citywide. The other bar that you see there is called RevPAR, and that's revenue available per room. That's how much profit a hotel makes on each room. And then obviously hotel occupancy. And you can see occupancy was doing pretty good. It's that little gray dotted line up there, was doing really good. We had January, we had a lot of group coming in. February was really awesome. And then in the middle of March, everything shut down. Remember, we all thought we were going home for maybe a couple weeks. Well, it literally collapsed from, where we had phenomenal occupancy. We ended March with 5% occupancy in the city of Newport Beach. All the hotels had to lay off people. We actually had to have 3 hotels that closed during that time, one of which still remains closed, which is going to become the Pendry, which we'll be talking about in just a little bit. So you could see that it was a steep, catastrophic collapse of the tourism industry by the end of March. And in early April, I got a call from Debbie Snavely at the Marriott, who said that she just got off a call with Marriott Corporate that said, you better prepare for a year of no business. I'm going, well, what does that mean? No business. Now, fortunately, that wasn't the case, but that is what was being discussed, around the country. And remember, airlines closed down as well. Disneyland closed down for over a year. Everyone went home, and obviously that hurt us from a tourism standpoint. So we collapsed, and we were essentially almost out of business starting in April. The one shining thing that did help us, and it's a little of a bit of a controversial thing in this city, are short-term rentals. Short-term rentals are what helped pay the bills during the pandemic. Because what happened is we had people who said, I'm not going to either stay at a hotel if the hotel is open, but I'd like to stay in a home that's sort of like a bubble where our family can be safe and protected. And those continue to be really popular when people said, I cannot stay in this house any longer. I got to get out of here. And they started going to these short-term rentals. And you could see, particularly in the summer, how short-term rentals occupancy really grew, and then certainly their average daily rate. So short-term rentals, you'll see in June and July, the RevPAR was way up there at almost $600 for some of the short-term rentals. One of the things the hotels didn't do was drop their rate. They kind of held to rate because they said, if we give everything away, it's going to be harder to build up. So people said, listen, at the Marriott, they went from a couple hundred employees to 5 people running that hotel during the summer. 5 employees running the whole thing. And they could only allow maybe 50 rooms or so in order to service them. And most of those were first responders who needed to work and needed to be in a hotel room because maybe they were working at Hogue and they didn't want to take anything home to their family, so they stayed at a hotel. So you can see it was really pretty tough. We were going into the year with what we call group room nights. These are meetings at conventions. One of the things about Newport Beach is that everyone thinks it's visitors that all come. And it's not just visitors. There are people here for meetings and conventions. In fact, all of our biggest hotels, if you don't have 60% of your business meetings and conventions, you cannot pay your bills in this town. That's really important to note. We all think it's just the people coming during summer. It's the meetings and conventions that we get in the winter and spring and early fall that really help. And all of that business went away. Which meant that the hotels had to survive on whatever leisure they could get, and obviously there wasn't much of that. So now we're going into the rest of the year. You can see that essentially John Wayne Airport went down from 166,000 inbound to just over 12,000 during that time. A huge drop off. LAX, over 90% of their flights were gone for the better part of 2020. And you can kind of see where we were kind of moving along. Hotels, we still had 3 hotels closed. So the Hyatt on Jamboree closed for a while. The Renaissance closed for a while. And of course, Fashion Island closed and still remains closed until later this year. We called it, and you'll see Jimmy Stewart there, if anyone knows the film It's a Wonderful Life. This was, we always talk about, and for those of you who don't know the movie, that's about a man who discovers what life was like had he not been born. Well, we discovered what life was like without tourism and what the ramifications were. We called it, our Jimmy Stewart moment, because we really saw that if we don't have tourism, the impacts of that rippled across the city and across the nation. The only time tourism had ever come to a complete standstill was during 9/11. And of course, 9/11, planes weren't flying, people weren't going anywhere, but this was even worse. In fact, this was 7 times worse than the shutdown during 9/11 in terms of the tourism industry. It was well over a loss of $500 billion that impacted the country. Pretty tough times. But then, this is the hopeful news here today is that Newport Beach is a really resilient community. And we started beginning to come out of this in the early part of the year. So we started to creep up. As you can see, occupancy started coming in the first part of the year. We began to see more meetings and conventions starting to come back. And we started to come out of this darkness. Short-term rentals were still doing really well. And then we had the opportunity that I'll be talking about in a moment with the purchase of the Marriott, and which became Vea also during this period. So we started this whole transformation of our major hotel. So let me get into the very, very good out of this. The weird thing out of the pandemic, and I tell people around the country, because they'll say, well, how is Newport Beach faring? Oddly enough, the pandemic from a tourism standpoint was catastrophic at the beginning, but we are much stronger coming out of it than we were going into it. There's a term, and the students may know the term creative destruction, where things that are existing kind of get blown up and are disrupted, and new and better things come in its place. That's a little of what happened here in town, is that we had a widespread creative destruction of the tourism industry, but out of it came some amazing things. And one of those was Eagle 4 Partners. Now, Eagle 4 is based here in Newport Beach. It's an investment company. They're over here in Newport Center. Corey Kramer is one of the partners, and he's here today, and he'll join me up for a Q&A afterwards. But Eagle 4 invests in a number of hospitality-related products. They have the Sheraton Denver. They have properties in Hawaii. I think you opened up one in Reno recently. So they own a lot of different properties, but the partners of that decided that their investment strategy would be best served not around the country, but here in Newport Beach. And they decided to take their considerable resources and say, we could go anywhere. This is the place we want to put our money. And they're putting $1 billion into this city now through these various investments. So hopefully you've all seen Vea, which is now the 31st Marriott brand. It's the only Vea in the world, the only one that Marriott operates. Beautiful transformation of that property, and it's exquisite in terms of what it has now become. It went from over 500 rooms now to 400, and the reason for that also is adjacent to Vea will be the new Ritz-Carlton residences. If you've been by the hotel, you've probably seen there was some demolition in one of the towers, and they're clearing that site with the hope that they're going to be breaking ground on the new 22-story Ritz-Carlton residences later this year. So now they're kind of doing some due diligence work on that. That will be another transformational opportunity. And both of those, by the way, were envisioned during a golf game at the Newport Beach Country Club, where the partners looked up and they said, pandemic, there's a really nice hotel. we'd love to own that hotel. The hotel wasn't for sale. Eagle 4 went in and said, you know, in the middle of a pandemic, maybe you'd like some money right now. And this was Host. And they said, well, we weren't interested, but what are you talking? And they put a deal together. The hotel was purchased. And in less than a year, it was under a multi-million-dollar reinvention. We don't call it a remodeling because it's much more than that. And that came out of that. But they didn't stop there. In addition to that, the Irvine company decided to sell Fashion Island Hotel because of its location. A lot of bidding, a lot of interest in it. And out of it, Eagle 4 stepped up again and bought that property and is now going to become the Pendry, Newport Beach, coming up in September of this year. And I'll show you a little more about that in just a moment. But Eagle 4 also has other interests here in town. They own the Balboa Bay Resort, which they're remodeling the ballrooms right now, putting more money into it. And they also own the Newport Beach Country Club. I have to tell you, in our business, to have local ownership like this is really amazing. And except for the Renaissance, all of our hotels in Newport Beach are locally owned. That's the weird thing. Newport Beach Bayview, the Hyatts all have local owners, and that really helps us create and maintain a good quality product. Because I guarantee you, Corey's walking through Vea a lot, and the partners, and that's how you maintain the quality of your hotels, by knowing that the owners are walking around and taking a look at everything. And then finally was Lido House. And Lido House is owned by another local owner, Bob Olson. And Bob actually created a phenomenal product several years ago on the side of the old City Hall. But now they're going to be expanding, adding 5 more cottages, enlarging some of their meeting rooms, doing some work on the deck up there, which is very, very popular. So we now have continual and significant reinvestment in making us a much better product than before we had during the pandemic. And that's, really, that's a cool thing to see. This is Vea. Again, hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at it. It's kind of modeled, I think, after, was it the One Hotel in Miami? It was sort of the creative inspiration for that. Great outdoor space over there. And they just finished remodeling the meeting rooms at that property. And because Eagle 4 owns the country club, if you go to Vea, go to the bar, the View Bar in the back, which cantilevers over the country club. And that's only because the owners of both, the Eagle 4, which owns both of them, allowed that to happen. They also removed a few trees, improved the sight lines, and it's a much better experience now as a result of that. So let me talk a little about the Pendry, because I know there's a lot of people interested in that hotel. It's going to be a really cool, fun property. If you're not familiar with the Pendry brand, it's growing quickly. It is part of the Montage family. The Montage down in Laguna was the very first Montage. It was created by a gentleman named Alan Firstman. His son Michael is kind of leading this. Michael is in his late 30s, and he is the creative and design inspiration. This is going to be a very hot happening hotel that will also include a 10,000 square foot social club. And in fact, this picture up here at the top, that red shot with the bar, that's the bar that will be in the social club. Those social club memberships, because I know a lot of people are saying, how can I get into this? Because it's going to have a golf simulator, it'll have its own restaurant, it will be a place to be seen, and sales of that membership for that club will probably be starting this March. And I know there's going to be a quick waiting list to get involved in that one. It's going to have a lot of appeal to it. There's going to be a brand new pool area put into it. And then in the front, if those of you went up to Fashion Island in the past, the lawn area now is going to be reconfigured as meeting space, much like Vea has a kind of a meeting space there as you drive up. Same that you'll have with the Pendry. And I'm really happy to announce we have a new general manager. So those of you who work with our hotel general managers, David Hoffman has just been named the general manager, who is now at the Pendry West Hollywood. It's on the Sunset Strip. He's been with Pendry for about 20 years, but more importantly, he used to work at the hotel when it was a Four Seasons. So he knows this community. He actually lives in Irvine and had been commuting to West Hollywood every day, the poor man. But anyway, so he's joined, and we also have a new sales leader, Eliza Wong. So you're gonna be hearing a lot from them here in the next few months. And that's sort of a mock-up of what the room is going to look like. As you can see, it's sleek, modern, somewhat minimalist, which is a little of the Pendry brand. And you'll find a lot of artwork, public artwork. That's another thing that they also like to infuse their properties with. For those of you who are into creative design, this is going to be a property you're going to want to pay attention to, because they're really paying attention to the details to make this a very engaging, and I'll guarantee you there's going to be no other hotel in town that looks anywhere like this one. And this club, I think, is going to be one of the areas that is going to be very popular as well. The other part of our transformation, and this was all kind of interconnected. The restoration hardware, if you've gone to Fashion Island, you probably saw that big hole that's sitting out there. That they're working on. That's going to be the restoration hardware that'll open up in the probably mid-24. And it is going to be, it'll have a rooftop deck. You can see what it'll look like. They're actually adding a floor. It'll overlook the ocean. It's going to be a really beautiful place to be. Here's the interesting thing about it. Irvine Company have been talking with Restoration Hardware for 10 years about expanding and coming to Newport Beach with this concept, which they have in Napa and I think West Hollywood. They really wanted to bring it here, but they were a little hesitant. One day they came, they saw what was happening across the street at Vea, they saw what the plans were, and they said, if that's where this city is going, if you're going to the uber luxury category, we're in. And they signed the lease. So you can see how all these pieces begin to kind of fit together and help. Lugano Diamonds, huge presence here in town. They're going to have a private club in addition to a new retail space. Candaletto's, if you remember where that is gone. This is what's going in its place. And then Privy is their new private club for their members. Understand that the Lugano is, they have a very high spending clientele. Their average pieces are going for about $115,000 each, and many of their sales individually exceed $1 million. These are the kind of people who are coming and spending in Newport Beach. We also have a little bit of a dining renaissance. How many people have been to Joey yet? Anyone been over there? It's the hot happening spot right now. You arrive, they give you a glass of champagne. The service is impeccable, very eclectic menu. A lot of really cool things going on over there. That just opened up in the last couple weeks. Ocean 48 comes from the Mastro's family. That won't open up probably until the end of the year, early next year. It's under construction right now where the old Fig and Olive was. And then Sugarfish is opening up in Corona Del Mar and later this year. And it's kind of a sushi seafood restaurant. Very trendy, very popular. So let's take a look at where we are now, because we've kind of come out of this darkness and things are better now. So far this year, 50% occupancy, which is low, but we don't have our meetings and conventions back, so that's why it's going to be there. $290 average daily rate is a pretty healthy number, particularly in January. Even through the pandemic, we've kind of led all the cities in terms of average daily rate and 146 RevPAR. As you can see, we're starting to bring back room nights. In 2019, we had a goal of 96,000. All of that fell down. We now are aiming at 75,000, and we're about 42% of the way of getting those meetings and conventions back. So we're making progress. And things are happening. The other part of Newport Beach's tourism puzzle is international. So international is really important. A lot of people go, really, people are flying around the world to come here? Yes, they are. Before the pandemic, we had a lot of Chinese visitors. We had a lot of visitors from the UK, from Canada, and the Middle East. And these Middle East people, they would stay at Pelican 30 days or more, bring their extended families and their staff. These aren't numbers that are big in volume, but high in spend. And that's really why we go after them, is that when they come, they don't stay here for a long weekend. They will stay here for 30 days. And you can imagine, really what they spend on this one. In fact, I'll tell you real quickly, one of my favorite international stories was a gentleman from the Middle East who came to Pelican every single year, and he did a deal with Beverly Hills Car Rental, and he always had a Rolls Royce delivered to, it was a Bentley, delivered to the hotel that he would use for the better part of a month. So Beverly Hills Car Rental delivers the Bentley, drops it off. About an hour later, the gentleman says, why did you drop off this piece of junk at the hotel? He says, what do you mean? He says, the car has 5,000 miles on it. I'm not driving this used car. And so he said, you know what, sir? I'll take care of it for you. And what he did is he went to the Bentley dealership, spent $375,000 on a brand new Bentley, drove it to Pelican, gave it to the man. He used it for 1 month, put 500 miles on it. Beverly Hills Car Rental sent him a bill for $175,000, and he paid it right like that for 500 miles. That's why we want the Middle East business in Newport Beach, because of this crazy spending that sometimes goes on. So we're gonna start getting back into the UK and Canada, because these markets are starting to come to life again. China, I don't see happening, perhaps, at least for many years, perhaps ever. I'm not really sure. That economy is really kind of messed up right now, but we are gonna start working on that because we need more of that long-term, high-spending visitors. So here's kind of the big story of all of this, is that we truly are going to be a much better city, believe it or not, because of the pandemic. And I know that sounds really odd, and that I don't disparage all the death and the businesses that we lost and all of that. It was a catastrophic event. But if you look at the end result of what's happened in the city, is we are now going to be moving into, we've always been luxury, we're now going into the uber luxury category. We're going to attract even higher spending visitors who are going to be coming here, because the hotels that I just described, Vea, Pendry, all of them are all upping their rates. Even the hotels that didn't renovate during the pandemic are upping their rates, because if Vea's up here and you're down here, you want to move up here. So everyone now is increasing their rate, which helps the city with more room tax, more visitor spend. So we're going to have better, higher quality rated business for our group, because there's meetings and conventions that we're going to say goodbye to because they just don't spend enough money. So we're going to go after the American Bar Association instead of the California Bar Association. We're going to go after those kind of groups. We're talking about fewer people, but higher spending per person. We have our higher quality hotel product. Along with that, our service expectations. So we have to make sure that we have really, really good quality people working in our hotels to make sure that guest experience is great. We want to have more discerning retail and restaurants, which is what Fashion Island and the Irvine Company is trying to do. And you're going to see we're going to be focusing on some really key markets that we've been in before, but we're going to double down on. And we're going to talk about what we're doing with the entertainment industry here in just a moment. But we're going to not only focus on that market, but also financial, pharmaceutical, corporate, and tech. These are all people who have the means to spend on means of conventions as well as leisure. So we're going to be working on those. So one of the other great things that came out of the pandemic is that we got a wonderful new Chief Marketing Officer, Ashley Johnson. If you have not met Ashley, she's terrific. She comes to us from Visit Laguna, where she was the CEO for many years, and she has really come in and reinvigorated all of our marketing efforts and has done an amazing job. What we're trying to do, we used to do kind of leisure campaigns to tell the Newport Beach story during when we had a need period. So in the winter, when things slowed down, we would start running ads. We're now going to run ads all year long. The one we have right now, you'll see there on the left, Stay at Sea Level. That campaign is going into a lot of our key regional feeder markets so that we can kind of encourage people to come and visit us right now on the leisure side. But the other campaign, and this is kind of what we call our guerrilla marketing, which is always kind of a fun thing to do, is we decided, okay, Phoenix is hosting the Super Bowl. What happened last year when LA hosted the Super Bowl? There are a lot of people who said, great, Super Bowl, I'm not going to the game, but I'll rent my house out. Or I don't even want to be here during the traffic. There's going to be too much chaos. I can't get into my favorite restaurants. It's crazy. So we said, you know what? You're right. It's crazy. It's nuts. Come to Newport Beach. Phoenix is already a very important market for us, so we went in there and basically said, congratulations on hosting Super Bowl. Now get out of town. And so we're running, we have billboard ads, digital campaigns, print. I've been doing, even all the media out there, the TV media have been very interested in this, and I've been doing TV spots explaining why are you, we're not dissing the Super Bowl. We're just acknowledging that Super Bowl can be nuts, and if you have to watch the game on TV, why don't you watch it at one of our resorts and enjoy a wonderful weekend versus sitting at home and unable to go outside because you can't get anywhere because everything has been filled up. So it's gotten a lot of great buzz. Arizona is already a big market for us, particularly during summer for the obvious reasons. And we're going to try to encourage more of that. So let me show you two spots, one of which is our winter campaign. And then we're going to follow it with the TV ad that we're doing for the Super Bowl, so you can kind of see our messages. So this is the first one is running right now in the key markets. The second one is running in the Phoenix area. And by the way, thanks to Ashley's leadership, we are actually going to have an ad during the Super Bowl, in the middle of the Super Bowl. It'll air it regionally. We can't afford a national one, but we're going to air one regionally in Arizona, so we're going to even get more eyeballs. So here's our first ad.
Start planning your chic coastal winter getaway today and choose seas over skis, boats over coats, and tan lines over lift lines. Stay at sea level this winter and visit Newport Beach.
So you can see we not only went after Super Bowl, we went after the ski industry too. We're not afraid to pick good fights if we have to for business, okay? Let me show you the one that is running right now in Phoenix for Super Bowl.
Planning to get away this February? You can always watch from here. Touchdown in Newport Beach.
So, fun spots. And our hotels have come up with special packages. Visit Newport Beach /AZ. We've got a whole series of different packages at Vea and some other where you can have watch parties, have special deals that we're offering exclusively for that market so that we can generate additional visit traffic. So let me also talk a little more of also what we're doing to elevate us into the national consciousness. There used to be a time when you promoted travel on travel pages. We kind of got away with that several years ago, and we said, the best way to tell your story is to integrate yourself with popular culture and get people talking about you on social media sites, celebrity sites, and other places where people get information and can learn about you without it being a travel message per se. So a few years ago, we started dialogue with ABC television, and last year we premiered our first Newport Beach ad during the Oscars. Now, what's interesting about this is that, yes, the viewership for the Oscars is down, but we were able to get a great deal to be the sponsor for the after show. So when the show's over, celebrities talking about, interview the winners and such. Usually it gets good ratings, but it's a little bit of a decline from the show this year. Actually, last year, thanks to Will Smith, everyone started watching the after show. So thank you, Will, for improving our ratings. The slap heard across the world got everyone to start tuning in and said, what is this? And then our ad started getting more traction. So we owe them. But we started working with the Oscars. They actually gave us a spot that I was in, and the editor of Variety talk about our history and our connection with Hollywood, because we do have a long, rich history with Hollywood and the entertainment industry. So we came up with this campaign. Spots ran during the show itself, and we'll show you what ran, and it kind of tells you a little of why it makes sense for us to connect with the Oscars.
There once was a time when legends of the silver screen escaped the glare of the spotlight for the glow of the sunset. In a place just beyond the glitz, with its own effortless glamour, where the splash of the headlines still gives way to the gentle waves of the coastline. Newport Beach, where Hollywood comes to play, and a golden age still shines.
I cannot tell you how much response we got to people seeing it. One, they were just surprised we were doing this. These ran, all over the place. And we got calls from people. I got calls from people. You're on the Oscars. What also happened is it caught the attention of PBS. And PBS saw the ad and they said, we want to work with you because there's something here. We've developed a very close relationship with our film festival. I hope all the students here will consider volunteering for the film festival. It's a really cool event now that has been moved to October, which puts us in the middle of award season. And they're hosting a lot of really great celebrity-studded events. And we use that as a means to help tell the story. So when we could get on Entertainment Tonight or get it on TMZ or get on any of the other sites that people are looking at, this is kind of how we do it. So we developed this great partnership with them, and they came aboard, and PBS now broadcasts a special program on the Newport Beach Film Festival that runs nationally, and you can see that. So we first started in London, and the film festival, and I said, okay, let's see if we can try to get some presence in London. So we decided to connect ourselves with the British film industry. And the British film industry is called the BAFTAs, it's sort of the equivalent of the Oscars. So we thought, what can we do to connect ourselves a little more with that? So 7 years ago, we created an award show. The British film industry didn't invite us. They didn't ask us to be there. We basically asserted ourselves. And this was dreamed up with the president, Greg Schwenk, the president of the film festival. We had a plate of tacos at Red O, and we said, let's do something crazy. Let's crash the BAFTAs. Now, this is like, let's crash the Oscars, right? We said, well, let's see what we can do to insert ourselves into it. We found that the BAFTAs are usually on a Sunday. It's sort of, again, the British Oscars. We decided we'll come in on a Thursday and open up the weekend. We were very lucky. The very first celebrities we had attend our event was Keira Knightley and Benedict Cumberbatch, who were promoting a new film. And because of that, we were able to kind of take off. And since then, we've honored some of the greatest British film legends ever. But that has generated national publicity for us all over the country. So we have an event that'll be coming up in mid-February. And here are some of the honorees. Bill Nye, anybody seen Love Actually? Great Christmas movie. I loved his character. He played this aging rock and roll star. He's going to be attending our event because he's in a film that's getting some buzz called Living right now. His co-star and director are going to be there at this event. Taron Egerton, did anyone see Rocket Man, the story of Elton John? He's going to be one of our honorees as well. Gemma Chan from Crazy Rich Asians, she's coming. We've got a lot of different folks that we're going to be doing. And again, this is a media opportunity. It's a chance for us to tell our story through this. And when people come in, they see all these beautiful pictures of Newport Beach. And that way it helps influence the coverage and gets the buzz factor going. Again, remember, we're trying to insert ourselves into popular culture. So we did that. And I want to show one more video too that'll give you a tease for also what we're doing here locally in October.
Newport Beach was the perfect setting for an international film festival.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
And the prestigious Newport Beach Film Festival Honors Awards. A chance to get to know those who have dedicated their talents for years.
It's a long way from Mayberry.
And those on the brink of new discoveries.
It's very surreal to have a bunch of people suddenly know I exist.
Welcome to the 23rd Annual Newport Beach Film Festival Honors.
I love that.
Sunday at 4:30 on PBS SoCal.
This does is it allows us to tell our story. So in October, we did the same thing we do in London. We did that here. And now this show has gotten phenomenal ratings. We just heard that from PBS. You'll see up there, yes, that was Machine Gun Kelly who came to the event for our students. We had to refer to him as Colson Baker, not Machine Gun, but he was a very cool guy, I have to tell you. It was terrific. So we're now able to kind of get some additional play on this one as well. Finally, as we wrap up, I just want to reinforce what tourism means to the city for all of you who live here. And that is, if you took tourism and evaporated it, but you still wanted to maintain the excellent city services that this city provides, each person in this city would have their taxes raised over $1,100 a year to maintain essential city services. And if you like the quality of life here, you like all the restaurants, you like all the shops, everyone would have to spend almost $44,000 a year to maintain the quality of life that we get because of our visitors. So it's very meaningful financially, socially, and that we have tourism. And that is that's my presentation. Thank you. I threw a lot of stuff at you, but here's the thing to know, and I truly believe this, and I hope all the students take this away. Your worst days can be your very best days if you handle them well. And I have to tell you, we learned that lesson and had to live that lesson during the pandemic. As dark as it was, it gave us an opportunity to do other things, to do them better, and come out of it stronger. And that's really what this community did, in an unbelievable way. Not every community was as lucky as we are. You go to San Francisco, it's still struggling, but we did well. Anyway, thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I don't know if you've got time, Corey is here from Eagle 4 if you want to ask any questions too. Thank you.
If you could stick around and we have some questions, maybe you can answer them afterward. We're running tight on time. I know our students need to get to class, but we'll close out with Steve.
Thank you. Great presentation, Gary. As always, a lot going on. And he's right. We're like the phoenix that rose out of the ashes here with our hotel industry and our tourism industry. And, him and his team, we owe a lot of that to them. Speaking of Phoenix rising out of the ashes, we also came out of the pandemic very strong, and we have a strong selection of meetings coming up this month. If you want to join us, especially the ladies in the room, our Inspire Women in Business luncheon is next week on Wednesday the 8th. It's going to be at the Bahia Corinthian Yacht Club, and Lisa Sparks, she's on the Orange County Board of Education, is going to be our speaker for that. It's from 11:30 to 1. Our networking luncheon is going to be at the Hyatt Regency Newport Beach, one of the hotels that Gary's been talking about. That's the one on Jamboree, and that's on the 15th from, again, 11:30 to 1. Our Sunset Mixer this month is at Muldoon's on the 23rd, 5:30 to 7:30. And next month, if you want to join us for Wake Up Newport, our mayor, Noah Blom, will be here. He's going to kind of give you a rundown of what's happening in the city and his priorities for 2023. And last but not least, our police breakfast, I mentioned a little earlier, is March 17th. It's going to be at the new Vea, reimagined Vea, reinvented Vea Hotel. We probably have close to 500 people there. It's going to sell out, so if you're planning on coming, buy a ticket earlier, buy a table earlier, because when they're gone, they're gone. So thank you all. Have a great day. There's still some food back there. Thank you, Matt, for bringing the steel oats. Thank you, Julie, wherever you are, for sponsoring today. Have a great day.